You're holding your baby, and everything seems normal for a moment. Then suddenly, the shoulders tighten, the fists pull in, the legs go stiff, the back arches, the face changes. And before the crying even starts, you can feel it. Something has shifted. Most parents have seen this moment. It can happen during a cuddle, in the middle of play, while changing positions, right when a baby seems completely fine. And it leaves so many parents asking the same question. What just happened? At first, it looks like random fussiness. Maybe your baby is uncomfortable. Maybe they are frustrated. Maybe they are just being fussy. But what if that body tension means something much deeper than most parents realize? What if your baby is not simply reacting, but communicating? Because babies do not begin by speaking with words. They begin by speaking with their bodies. Long before language, they use posture, breathing, facial changes, stillness, movement, and tension to tell us how they are coping with the world around them. And one of the most overlooked signals in early parenting is body tension. The hidden meaning is this: a tense body is often not the problem itself. It is the message before the meltdown. It is the signal before the cry gets louder. It is your baby's early way of saying, something about this moment is too much, too fast, too uncomfortable, or too hard to process. And once you understand that, you stop seeing tension as random. You start seeing it as information. But to really understand it, we first need to look at the explanation most parents hear first, and why that explanation only tells part of the story.
The most common explanation is simple. People say babies get tense because they are uncomfortable. Maybe it is gas. Maybe they are overtired. Maybe they do not like the position they are in. Maybe they are upset, hungry, or just having a hard moment. And sometimes that is absolutely true. A baby may stiffen, arch, or pull their body tight when they are uncomfortable. Babies can also show tension when they are tired or frustrated. So the common explanation is not wrong. It is just incomplete. Because when we stop at discomfort, we miss the most important part: what the body is trying to say about the baby's inner state. A baby is not only reacting to a sensation. A baby is also showing how well they are handling that sensation. That is a huge difference. Two babies can experience the same moment, like a loud room, a lot of eye contact, a fast transition, or playful stimulation, and respond very differently. One baby may stay relaxed. Another may suddenly stiffen, turn away, or arch. The difference is not always the event itself. The difference is how that baby's nervous system is processing the moment. That means tension is often less like a random symptom and more like a stress signal, a communication cue, a sign that the baby is trying to manage something that feels bigger than their system can comfortably organize. This is why the body often changes before the crying becomes intense. Parents tend to wait for the cry because crying feels like the obvious message. But in many cases, the cry comes after the body has already been speaking for several seconds, or even minutes. And once you realize the body speaks first, the next question becomes much more interesting. What exactly is your baby trying to communicate through that tension?
In infant behavior science, babies are often understood through cues. These are the subtle physical and behavioral signals babies use to show whether they are ready to engage or whether they need to pull back. When a baby is regulated and comfortable, the body usually looks softer, movements are smoother, breathing is steadier, the posture looks more relaxed, the face is more open. The baby can focus, look, and stay connected. But when a baby begins to feel overloaded, the body often shifts. That shift can look like fussing, jerky movements, facial tension, turning away, finger splaying, irregular breathing, stiff posture, or back arching. In other words, the body starts saying, I need less. This is incredibly important because babies are brand new to the sensory world. Light is intense. Sound is intense. Touch, movement, eye contact, voices, temperature changes, handling, transitions, even simple interaction can add up quickly. What feels ordinary to an adult can feel enormous to a baby. So when a baby's body suddenly tightens, it often means the baby is trying to protect their system from overload. Not danger in a dramatic sense, but too much input in an everyday sense. Too much stimulation, too much handling, too much happening too quickly. Research-based parenting guidance often describes this through disengagement cues. Babies turn away, stiffen, arch, fuss, or become jerky when they need a break from what is happening around them. The body is not misbehaving. The body is trying to regulate. And that changes the way a parent responds. Because instead of thinking, how do I push through this moment? The better question becomes, what can I reduce right now? Sometimes the answer is not more bouncing, more talking, more stimulation, or more effort. Sometimes the answer is less. Less noise, less movement, less intensity, less social demand. But that still is not the whole picture, because tension is not only about overload. Sometimes it is also about effort.
Here is the deeper twist. Body tension is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it is a sign that your baby is working hard to process a sensation, working hard to stay organized, working hard to move from one state to another, working hard to recover before things spill over. Babies move through changing states all day long: sleepy, drowsy, quietly alert, active, fussy, crying. These shifts are normal, but they are not always smooth. And the body often shows the effort of those transitions before a parent realizes what is happening. A baby may tense while waking because the transition into alertness feels abrupt. A baby may go rigid before crying because hunger is building faster than they can tolerate. A baby may tense during interaction because they were interested at first, but their system is now reaching its limit. A baby may stiffen after several minutes of play because they are trying to hold it together, even though they are no longer comfortable. That means body tension is often an edge signal. It tells you your baby is getting close to the edge of tolerance, the edge of comfort, the edge of attention, or the edge of emotional organization. And this is why context matters so much. A tense body by itself does not always mean one exact thing. You have to look at the pattern around it. Did it happen in a noisy space? During bright stimulation? After a long stretch of interaction? Right before a nap? In the middle of fuss buildup? After your baby started yawning, staring away, hiccuping, or losing interest? When parents learn to read tension as part of a sequence, the behavior becomes much more understandable. The clenched torso, the stiff legs, the arching, the tight face, the sudden stillness, the squirming, these are not random fragments. They are connected pieces of one message. And once you see the message earlier, you can respond earlier. That often changes the entire outcome of the moment. Which leads to the most useful question of all. What should parents actually do when they notice this? When you notice body tension in your baby, the goal is not to decode it perfectly every single time. The goal is to become a calm observer of patterns. A powerful question to ask is this: what was happening right before my baby's body changed? That question can tell you more than panic ever will. If the room was busy, lower the stimulation. If the interaction was intense, soften your voice and expression. If you are moving quickly, slow your hands down. If your baby has started turning away, arching, stiffening, or getting jerky, do not keep pushing through the moment as if more effort will fix it. Pause. Let the baby reset. Very often, babies respond well to simple, regulating changes. Quieter surroundings, gentler pacing, holding close, skin-to-skin contact,
secure positioning, a break from face-to-face interaction, steady rocking, humming, repetitive soothing. Not because these are tricks, but because they help reduce demand on a baby who is trying to regain stability. And there is something deeply reassuring here. You do not need to get every cue right. Babies do not need perfect interpretation. They need responsive adjustment. They need caregivers who notice, slow down, and try again. That said, there is one careful caution to keep in mind. If your baby seems unusual,
Stiff very often rarely relaxes, or the tension comes with feeding difficulty, breathing concerns, extreme distress, or something that genuinely feels unusual to you, it is wise to check with your pediatric provider. Most body tension in everyday life is about communication and regulation, not something alarming. But persistent or unusual patterns deserve attention, and trusting your instincts matters. The key is not fear. The key is noticing without overreacting, because the more clearly you read these moments, the less helpless they start to feel. And that opens the door to the most important reframe of all.
the hidden meaning behind baby body tension is this. Your baby is often trying to communicate before they fully fall apart. That tight little body may be saying, I need a break. It may be saying, this is too much, too fast. It may be saying, help me organize this moment. And sometimes, quietly, it may be saying, please notice this now, before I have to cry louder. Once parents understand that, the whole experience changes. The baby starts to feel less mysterious. The parent starts to feel less powerless. And what once looked like random fussiness starts to look like a real conversation. Not a conversation made of words, but one made of posture, movement, rhythm, tension, gaze, and timing. And when you begin responding to those early signals with calm, your baby learns something powerful. My cues matter. My feelings make sense. Someone is helping me when things get too big. That does not mean every hard moment disappears. Parenting a baby will always involve uncertainty. But it does mean you start seeing your baby with more clarity and more compassion. You stop asking, what is wrong with my baby? And you start asking, what is my baby trying to tell me right now? That shift is everything. So the next time your baby's body suddenly tightens, pause before assuming the worst. Look at the pattern. Look at the moment. Look at what changed. Because the body may be revealing the message before the cry ever does.
And once you learn how to hear that message, you are no longer just calming behavior. You are building understanding, safety, and connection from the very beginning. If you find this eye-opening, the next thing to understand is even more subtle. The tiny early signs babies show right before overstimulation begins. Because once you spot those signals, you can often catch the whole cycle before body tension even starts.